Your options are born into slavery, no existence at all. Those are your options.
I'd still take slavery because at least then I get to live
human
and I get
slavery is
to
morally
experience. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
You just said that you would accept
I
moral
would.
slavery.
I'm saying me personally, given the
Well, you
choice
would-
between a life and no life at all,
Yeah.
I would pick the life
So
even if
we
it
should,
sucks.
we should be. Oh, okay.
Social experiment?
Yeah, are you willing to? We're live on YouTube though. Is that okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Just have you step right here on the X. So we're both in frame. My name's Anna. What's yours?
Zach, nice to meet you.
Zach, lovely to meet you. Oh no, there
You
goes my
lost
live
the
sign.
Little gusty.
Little gusty. Catch that right there. All right. So, let me flip this actually. Yeah. There we go. So we're just asking people about the dynamics between the powerful and the powerless.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the powerful should have the right to oppress, meaning to treat unfairly the powerless?
The right? No. I don't
agree.
think they should.
These next few questions will seem kind of obvious, but they're for that paradigm shift I'm trying to point out. What if they're really strong, the oppressor?
Well, they still shouldn't have the right, but they might have the ability.
Yeah, I agree. What about if they're really intelligent?
They might give them more ability, but still not the right.
Yep, I'm right there with you. This next one might seem like the gotcha, but what if they have different DNA?
Different DNA? I don't think that would be much of a factor unless the culture values that.
Okay. Does something cultural make it moral?
It depends on the culture and what they think is moral.
Well, from your perspective.
It's too vague. I'd say no.
I agree. Just because something's cultural doesn't make it moral. So that just brings me then to the animals. What do you think about the animals that we send to slaughter or use for food and clothing? Do you agree that we're oppressing them?
I don't think they think too hard about it.
Okay. Do you think if we could find a human that is not really aware of those around them, that I could exploit them for like their flesh, their poop, their hair?
You probably could. Wouldn't be moral, though.
Exactly. I agree. And I'm not so much talking about what is or what could. I'm more talking about morality and how we should interact with each other. So what is it about that human that we respect if it's not their abilities?
Well, it's the same species as us, and we tend to connect to them more on that.
Yeah. What about if there was a dead human and a living human? Who would you connect with more?
Depends on the context of the dead human.
That's fair. Between a dead human that you don't know and an animal you don't know, who do you value more in that?
Value? That's tough. I feel like I'd connect more with the human.
The dead human?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is it just someone being human that's the only thing that that's moral, or?
Well, I'd say the human, because the difference between humans and animals, I think, is sapience, which is kind of the intellectual ability to recognize ourselves and think and have higher concepts rather than just be driven by instinct. So
Sure.
whether or not the individual human does that a lot, they have the capability of it, and they're the same species of us, which I think makes more connection than a human.
I mean, not all humans have those capabilities. So if I could breed a type of human that didn't have those capabilities, would it be moral for me to breed them? And
That'd be kind of messed up.
I agree. It'd be disgusting. What is it that is different about animals? Is it just that they're not sapient, or is there any other reason that it morally justifies what we do to them when we can avoid doing so?
Well, it's hard to say a moral justification. I think a justification would be if we need the meat to feed ourselves, then we could do that. Animals take each other's meat all the time and they don't have a problem with it. That's just kind of the nature of life. If we need to eat things, then by necessity of our biology, we need to eat things that live.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's kind of the trouble of it.
Technically eat humans to live, right?
I think if you do cannibalism, there are actually some biological problems to that, you don't digest it properly.
Only if they're infected. If I've farmed them in a way that they don't become infected with the Crohn's disease, they're just as unsafe to consume as animal flesh.
That's a psychological thing too. I think in studies of cannibals, they've had psychological issues after, consuming that.
No, there's been cultures that do that. They don't have psychological issues.
Well, maybe because they built up a very strong culture to get around that, but that doesn't mean the inherent
So it just comes down to
problem isn't there.
cultural lines. So what I'm asking for is more we'll start a little more simple. Do you believe that without having a deep conversation with others, that people should respect your autonomy? They shouldn't just come out of nowhere and start poking you with things or doing what they want to your body?
I think it's hard to say a right for that. Somebody could certainly do that.
Again, I'm not talking about what is, right?
Yeah.
talking about what you would prefer.
So what I would prefer, I don't think it would bother me that much if I could tell no to them.
Well, what if they don't respect that, though?
Well, then it's a question of whether or not I can get away from them.
Right. You don't want it to happen, though. That's the question. Okay. So you would prefer that people respect your autonomy. Otherwise, you have to make them respect your autonomy, correct? Right. So then what is it then that is the difference between you and the animals that makes it okay for you to do this to animals, but not someone to do that to you? And I kind of want to add context to this. I'm not judging you for past actions because I've used animals for most of my life. I'm honestly out here because I think most people actually agree with me. We have shared principles. And so I know that I'm proposing a lot of challenges to your perspectives, but I don't want you to feel like I'm calling you a bad person or putting you down. I just think that it's out of respect, actually. I genuinely feel like you probably actually agree with me on a lot of things. So with that said, what in your mind do you think morally justifies future actions of demanding animal exploitation, but saying it's wrong to do that to humans? What's the morally relevant difference?
It's tough to frame this in morals without understanding what context the morals are coming from. I think what it really boils down to is do we have a need to do this to animals to meet our needs? And seeing as a human would be part of our species, if you want to frame this in an us versus them kind of thing, they're on our side.
Well, that's more like in-group think, right? You're not in my group, therefore I don't care what happens to you, right? We've seen that in history, and usually we frown upon it because it's a type of arbitrary, harmful discrimination, right? Just because you're not in my group doesn't mean you don't care what happens to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw my hand at you.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to break it down from a strictly moral perspective, it is wrong to do this to creatures who probably want to stay alive.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at it in the context of okay, well, this is nature. There is a necessity to claim resources and to survive and to propagate your own species.
Well, what necessity do you have here, living in Portland, to continue to do this to animals?
Well, I need to eat.
Yeah.
And are you saying choosing to eat meat versus not?
Yeah, I'm asking you, so do you know what veganism is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to explain this to the definition in case we're not on the same page, just because I know there's a lot of interpretations. So veganism is actually this ethical stance against exploitation of other sentient beings. If you were being exploited and someone was selling the benefits of that, and I could buy that from them, which would perpetuate your further exploitation, I wouldn't do that out of principle because I recognize you're a sentient being who deserves respect and shouldn't be put in that situation. Does that sound like it resonates with your own principles?
I would say in concept, yes. I have given some thought to veganism and all that, but my thought is if I were to personally choose not to interact with that system, not to eat meat for my own life, I don't think it would necessarily benefit the animals in question.
Well, so that line of thinking, who do you think that benefits?
Who that benefits?
Yeah. Who's that benefit? Benefits the oppressors, right? Because you're thinking you don't have any power. When really you actually do. So one person going vegan, sorry, maybe I worded that weird. One person going vegan can save 100 to 300 animals from being born into existence and pushed into that system.
Where's that figure coming from?
I believe that is, oh my God. I don't have that study off the top of my head, but you can look that up. It's just basically every time you put in a demand for an animal, what do you think happens in supply and demand? How does that get replaced?
I see where you're going with this, and this is also something I've put thought into.
If no one bought animal products, would they keep producing them?
Well, if no one bought animal products, then chances are whatever animals currently exist on, say, a factory farm would still be slaughtered because from an economic perspective, they'd want to recoup those costs.
They wouldn't be born into existence.
They wouldn't be born into existence. Yes, I know. That's the second point.
They don't want to produce animals unless they make money.
Yeah.
So if the demand goes down, because it wouldn't be overnight, sadly, but your demand is huge. They'll follow your dollar. Each consumer they follow. So if you can reduce greatly what they make, they're going to go make what you do want, right? That's how supply and demand works.
Well, then you get to another can of worms where it's okay, say you reach a point where enough people are vegan that the animals aren't being born.
Yeah.
They're not in the system. Now they don't have a life now. They don't exist.
Yeah. Would you want... I mean, that kind of justifies human slavery because you could birth humans into slavery and say, well, at least they're alive. They get to experience life. That wouldn't be morally fair.
That's a tough one to get
It's
around
not tough. That's
morally.
pretty straightforward. Would you want to be born into slavery?
I wouldn't want to be born into slavery, but I'd want to be born. I'd want to live.
But your options are born into slavery, no existence at all. Those are your options.
I'd still take slavery because at least then I get to
So
live
human
and I get
slavery is
to
morally
experience. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
You just said that you would accept
I
moral
would.
slavery.
I'm saying me personally, given the
Well, you
choice
would-
between a life and no life at all,
Yeah.
I would pick the life
So
even if
we
it
should
sucks.
we should be birthing slaves by your moral perspective.
I think you're putting
Because
words
you're
in my mouth.
denying life to people right now.
So let me
So-
try to phrase this again, and if you could
Okay.
let me make a complete thought here.
Okay.
So, given the choice between being born into slavery or being not born at all, my thought is if I'm not born at all, then there's no me to lament that fact. There's just nothing. Nothing
Yeah.
exists. There's
No
no point to
suffering.
anything. No suffering, but also nothing else that comes with life. I would
So
rather live
you justified slavery.
I would rather live a life of suffering.
You would rather have slavery than not. You would rather be born into slavery than not be born. So therefore, we should birth humans to have the opportunity of life and use them as slaves.
Well, you gave me a choice between one life and one life only, or no life
I
at
know,
all,
but
and
you're
I'm
using
saying
it
I
as a
prefer the life.
justification to enslave animals because you're saying you would accept slavery instead of non-existence. So
For myself.
So you're saying it's okay to birth animals into existence to use because at least they're alive.
You're making a lot of connections with that. I'm just
Is it
saying I would
is that
rather
moral?
live than not live.
Is that moral to birth animals into existence to use them?
I don't know. It depends on your morals.
I'm asking you. What are your morals? Because I think you actually agree with me, but you're being contrarian right now. I think that you're maybe on spot because of the camera, but I think that you're actually a good person, and I think you know what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give you a card so you can like walk away and at least just think about it? We can just end it here.
Sure, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you have something else you want to
Well-
say, I just don't want to. I feel like maybe the situation just isn't the right one, but you sound like you genuinely do care about things outside of yourself.
I guess so. And I ask that you let me complete the thought here rather than
Okay.
jumping in. I think the difference between our perspectives is that I'm framing my moral stance within the context of what we need to do to exist as humans and to have the things we need.
don't
We do
need
need
to
to
use
eat. Well, if we don't use animals, then we deny ourselves products that we have evolved to consume over thousands of
What is
years.
that? Well, who cares?
I like to eat meat,
Yeah, but that's someone's muscle.
and you're interrupting me again.
All right. Well, you have a good day. If you're willing to, take one of my resources. But I think we're going to end it here.
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. If you want to watch our conversation, it's actually live on Anti-Animal Use. You can find us on YouTube. I do appreciate you taking the time to step up to me, though. That does take a brave person.
And
So,
thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, and I know that I was challenging and I pushed back on you a lot, but I appreciate the conversation staying cordial. So thank you for that. All right. What was your name one more time?
My name's Zach.
Zach, thank you again for having I'll give you an elbow. Thank you for having a conversation with me. And if you do want to and you come back, you want to have another conversation, I'm open to that too. Or if you want to talk to someone else.
Okay.
All right.
You have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the market.